You have 24 hours to pack your things, Mama. You'll be living in the garage from now on. I'm selling this house. Those were the words my own son, Tabo, spoke to me on that cold winter morning in Johannesburg. He stood there in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I had fed him pap and eggs every morning for 18 years, and told me I was losing my mind, that I was too old, too confused, too broken to live in my own home. I just smiled at him, because Tabo had no idea what I'd been hiding in that garage for 35 years. And when he found out, well, let me tell you, my son learned a lesson he would never forget. Before I continue, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Trust me, you don't want to miss how this story ends. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I love hearing from all of you. Now let me take you back to where this nightmare really began. My name is Nomsa Dlamini, and I'm 72 years old. I live in a modest house in Rosettenville, Johannesburg, the same house my late husband Mandla and I bought 40 years ago when we were young and full of dreams. Back then, this neighborhood was mixed with all kinds of families. Now it's mostly older people like me, holding on to memories and morning routines. Mandla passed away 8 years ago from a heart attack. One moment he was laughing at something on the television, the next moment he was gone. Just like that. I'd learned to manage everything on my own after that. My days were simple but full. Morning rooibos tea on the stoop, tending my vegetable garden where I grew spinach and tomatoes, and my Tuesday phone calls with my quilting group sisters. Life was quiet. Life was good. My son Tabo was 45, married to a woman named Lerato for 12 years. They lived in Sandton, in one of those fancy security estates with the high walls, electric fences, and armed guards at the gate. You know the type, where even the dogs have pedigrees and everyone drives a German car. We'd always had a decent relationship, I thought. Family broace on Heritage Day, Christmas mornings together. Him helping me fix my fence when the winter winds knocked it down. Nothing special but normal. The way family should be. But 3 months before that terrible Monday, things started changing. It began with small questions that felt wrong somehow. Tabo would call me and ask, "Mama, do you have enough money to pay your bills? This old house must be costing you so much to maintain." At first, I thought he was just being a good son, worried about his aging mother. That's what children do, right? They worry. Then Lerato started making comments. Strange comments that made my skin prickle. "This house is so big for just one person, nay, Mama Nomsa? These stairs must be so hard for you to climb at your age." She would walk through my rooms with her eyes moving everywhere, opening my kitchen cabinets like she was taking inventory, checking inside my bedroom closets, running her manicured fingers along my furniture. I felt like an insect she was studying under a microscope. They started visiting more frequently. Tabo would just arrive without calling first, always with some excuse. "Just came to check your geyser, Mama." Or, "Thought I should look at that cracked window in the bathroom." But I'd catch him taking photos of my rooms with his phone, writing measurements in a small notebook. When I asked him why, he'd smile that smile, the one that didn't reach his eyes, and say, "Just trying to help you keep track of everything, Mama. You know, for maintenance purposes." Something felt wrong. Very wrong. But I couldn't put my finger on it exactly. Was I being paranoid? Was I imagining things? My friend Precious from the quilting group told me I was lucky to have a son who cared so much. "Some of us have children who move to Cape Town and never call," she said. "You should be grateful, Nomsa." Maybe she was right. Maybe I was just being a suspicious old woman. But then came that Monday morning in June. The winter cold had settled deep into Johannesburg, and I was in my garden pulling weeds from around my tomato plants, my hands cold despite my gloves, when I heard Tabo's black BMW pull into my driveway. Lerato sat in the passenger seat, her face turned away, not getting out. That should have been my first warning sign. Tabo walked toward me carrying a thick manila folder, and the look on his face. I'd never seen that look before. Cold. Calculating. Like I was a business problem he needed to solve, not his mother. "Mama, we need to go inside and talk. Right now." If you're feeling that tension building, smash that like button. And stay with me, this story is about to get wild. Comment below if you've ever dealt with family betrayal. Your stories help others feel less alone. We sat down at my kitchen table, the same wooden table where I'd helped him with his homework, where we'd celebrated his matric results, where Mandla had proposed to me 45 years ago. Tabo opened his folder and pushed a stack of papers toward me. I could see the letterhead, Vander Merwe and Associates, Attorneys at Law. I've been consulting with a lawyer, he said, his voice flat and emotionless, about what needs to be done about your situation. My situation. My voice came out smaller than I intended. This house is too big for you, Mama. You can't manage it anymore. It's worth a lot of money now. Almost or 15 million with the way property prices have gone up in this area. You're sitting on all this wealth, and you can't even climb the stairs without getting out of breath. My heart started pounding. I can climb the stairs perfectly fine, Tabo. He continued as if I hadn't spoken. Lorato and I have discussed it, and we're going to help you. We're going to sell this house and put you somewhere more appropriate. Somewhere easier to manage. Easier. The word stuck in my throat. The garage. He said it so casually, like he was discussing the weather. Like he was talking about moving a piece of furniture, not his mother. We've already measured it. It's quite spacious, about 40 square meters. We can convert it into a bachelor flat for you. You'll have everything you need. A small kitchen area, a bathroom, a bed. We'll handle everything. The sale, the renovations, all of it. I stared at this man who looked like my son but was speaking like a stranger. Tabo, this is my house. Mine and your father's. I'm not going to. The papers are already drawn up. He pushed them closer, his finger tapping on the dotted line. You have 24 hours to start packing your important belongings and moving them to the garage. We've already arranged for an estate sale company to come next week to clear out everything else. The estate agent is coming on Friday to do the valuation and listing. You can't do this. My hands were shaking now. Actually, Mama, I can. His voice was so cold it could freeze the blood in my veins. I've consulted with lawyers who specialize in elder care. You're showing signs of dementia. You forget things. You get confused. I've been documenting everything for months. If you try to fight me on this, I'll go to court and apply for guardianship. That will cost money, take time, and you'll end up in an old age home in Yeovil instead of in your own garage. At least this way, you stay on the property. He stood up, closing his folder with a snap that made me flinch. I looked out the window and saw Lorato scrolling through her phone, completely bored, not caring at all about what was happening inside. 24 hours, Mama. I'm doing this because I love you. 'Cause I want to protect you. You'll understand later why this is for the best. After he left. After that BMW reversed out of my driveway and disappeared down the street, I sat at that kitchen table for a very long time. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. My mind was racing, spinning, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Questions. The measurements. The sudden concern about my well-being. It had all been part of a plan. My own son was trying to steal my house from under me. He wanted to declare me mentally incompetent, lock me in my own garage like an unwanted dog, and sell my home for our 15 million. But after the shock wore off, after the fear settled into my bones and then burned away, something else rose up inside me. Something cold and sharp and absolutely furious. Smiled. Actually smiled, sitting there alone in my empty kitchen. Oh, my boy, I said quietly to the walls. You have no idea what you've just done. You have no idea what's waiting for you. Because Tabo had made one critical mistake. One enormous, catastrophic error in his careful planning. He never asked me what I'd been doing in that garage for the past 35 years. Drop a comment right now telling me what you think is in that garage. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. You're going to want to see how Namsa fights back. That first night, I locked myself in my sewing room and went through everything systematically. This is how Mandla had taught me to handle problems. Look at all the facts. Make a plan. Then execute it. Don't panic. Don't let emotion cloud your judgment. If Tabo won, I would lose everything. My home of 40 years. My independence. My dignity. The garden where I'd grown vegetables to feed my family through good times and bad. The neighborhood where everyone knew my name. But worse than losing all those things was the betrayal itself. The boy I'd raised, the child I'd sacrificed for, had looked me in the eye and threatened to tell the world that my mind was broken. How long had he been planning this? Months. Years. Had every kind gesture, every helpful visit been part of his scheme? I felt something I hadn't felt since Mandla died. Real, bone-deep fear. Not fear of death or aging, but fear of losing control of my own life. Fear of being pushed aside like trash, while my son took everything I'd worked for. But underneath that fear, something harder crystallized. Anger. Cold, sharp, righteous anger. I made myself a cup of rooibos tea, my thinking tea, and forced myself to think strategically. What resources did I have? What weapons could I use to fight back? First, my health. I was 72 but strong. My doctor, Dr. Naidu, had told me just 3 months ago that I was in excellent health for my age. My mind was sharp. I'd even started taking online courses in digital art and photography. My bank statements would show careful, responsible money management. Second, my people. Precious and the ladies from the quilting group. Thandayo, Naledi, and Gogo Sibanjile. My neighbor Jabu, the retired police officer who still walked like he was on patrol. Mandla's cousin Lindayo, who worked as a paralegal. Not many people but good people. People who would stand by me. Third and most important, the garage. I walked out there after dark, using the connecting door from my kitchen. I hadn't been inside for 2 days because Tabo's words had shaken me so badly. Now I stood in the doorway, breathing in the familiar smells. Wood shavings, soap, dried lavender, essential oils. The front section of the garage looked ordinary. Mandla's old workbench covered in dust. My garden tools hanging on the wall. Boxes labeled Christmas decorations. And Mandla's camping equipment. Nothing Tabo would care about except as junk to be thrown away during his renovation. But in the back corner, behind a false wall I'd constructed myself 15 years ago, was my secret. My life's work. My fortune. I pushed the tall shelf on wheels aside and pressed the hidden button behind it. The wall panel swung open silently on well-oiled hinges. My soap-making workshop. My empire. For 35 years, I'd been creating artisanal soaps and bath products. Not as a hobby, as a serious business. After Tabo left for university, I'd transformed this garage into a professional workshop. I'd apprenticed with a master soap maker in Braamfontein, spent years perfecting my craft, building relationships with suppliers and retailers. My products sold in boutique stores from Johannesburg to Durban to Cape Town. Luxury hotels bought my soaps for their guest rooms. I operated under the business name ND Naturals, keeping my personal and professional lives completely separate. Mandla had known about it. He'd been so proud, helping me build the false wall, keeping my secret safe. But I'd never told Tabo. Why not? Because my son had always dismissed women's work. Years ago, when I mentioned wanting to take a soap-making class, he'd patted my hand like I was a child and said, "That's sweet, Mama." Like a little hobby for the church bazaar. The condescension in his voice, the dismissive way he'd smiled. It made me decide right then to keep this part of my life private. Now I looked at what I'd built. Hundreds of bars of artisanal soap in various stages of curing. Raw materials collected over decades. Essential oils, shea butter, cocoa butter, local honey, rooibos extract, buchu oil, African potato extract. Professional grade equipment. Some pieces worth thousands of rands on their own. My recipe books, customer databases, contracts with high-end retailers. Altogether, my inventory, equipment, and business relationships were worth approximately 30 million. Maybe more. Tabo wanted to move me into this garage. He had no idea he was telling me to abandon a fortune. But more than the money, this workshop was proof of who I was. Proof that I was intelligent, capable, entrepreneurial. Every bar of soap represented my skill. Every jar of body butter told a story. This was evidence that my mind worked perfectly, that I could run a complex business, manage inventory, handle customer relationships, create new products, balance books, and thrive. Tabo had threatened me with papers claiming my brain was broken. What I had was 35 years of documentation proving I'd successfully operated a multi-million rand business. My plan began forming. First, protect and hide the most valuable items immediately. Second, gather proof of my mental competence. Third, understand exactly what legal power Tabo actually had. Fourth, and this made me smile in the darkness, let Tabo think he was winning. Let him believe I was the confused old woman he'd described to his lawyer. Let him get comfortable, confident, careless. I pulled out my cell phone and called Lindayo. She answered on the second ring. Lindayo, it's Nomsa. I need a lawyer. Really good one. Tomorrow morning if possible. What's wrong, Mama Nomsa? My son just tried to steal my house from me. Silence. Then, I know someone. She's tough, smart, ruthless when she needs to be. Her name is Zanil Mthembu. When can you meet? Tomorrow morning. As early as possible. I slept well that night. The fear had burned away, replaced by purpose. If you're loving this story of revenge, hit that like button. And subscribe because this is about to get even better. Comment below. Team Nomsa or Team Tabo? Let's see where everyone stands. I met Zanil Mthembu at 9 a.m. in her office in Rosebank. Lindayo had described her as tough as nails, and in person she reminded me of a surgeon. Precise, focused, powerful. She was maybe 50 years old, with natural hair going gray at the temples and eyes that missed nothing. I told her everything. The threats, the timeline, Tabo's claims about my mental state, the 24-hour ultimatum. I showed her the papers he'd left. Preliminary documents from Peter van der Merwe's law firm explaining procedures for taking financial control of an elderly parent showing signs of dementia and poor judgment. Zanil read them carefully, her expression darkening. These aren't filed with the court yet. These are intimidation tactics designed to scare you into compliance. Could they work in court? Not if you're mentally competent, which you obviously are. But he could make things difficult. Guardianship cases are lengthy, expensive, and emotionally devastating. Even if you win, just being accused damages your reputation. She looked up at me. He's counting on you being too frightened, too exhausted, or too confused to fight back. He miscalculated. Tell me about this garage arrangement he's proposing. I explained his plan to convert my garage into a bachelor flat while he sold my house. Zanil's expression hardened with anger. That's not just greedy. That's cruel. That's abuse. She made notes. You said you're healthy. I need proof. Recent medical records. Cognitive assessments. Anything demonstrating mental competence. I can get all of that. Good. Now tell me about the house. Who owns it? This was the moment. Pulled out my folder. It's held in a living trust. Mandla and I established it 23 years ago. I'm the sole trustee and sole beneficiary. Upon my death, it passes to Tabo, but while I'm alive, I have complete control. Zanil's eyebrows rose. Does he know about the trust? I don't think so. Mandla handled all the legal matters. After he passed, I just continued managing everything. I never discussed it with Tabo. So he probably assumes the house is simply in your name and he can manipulate you into signing it over. She took the trust documents from me and read through them. I watched her face transform from professional interest to something close to delight. Nomsa, this is perfect. Absolutely airtight. He has zero legal authority to force you to do anything with this property. Even if he somehow succeeded in becoming your guardian, which he won't, he couldn't touch a trust structured like this. Your husband was very thorough. Mandla was always thorough. There's more, I said. I need you to understand the full picture. I told her about the garage. About ND Naturals. About 35 years of hidden work building our 30 million soap-making empire. Zanil actually laughed out loud. He wants to move you into a space containing our 30 million worth of business assets. He thinks it's full of old paint cans and Christmas decorations. Exactly. We need to document everything immediately. If he has keys to your house. He does. Then he could access the garage. We need photographs, inventory lists, professional valuations. I'll send someone this afternoon. And we need to move your most valuable items to a secure location. I've already started planning that. Zanil studied my face. You're enjoying this, aren't you? My son threatened to lock me in my own garage and declare me mentally incompetent. You're absolutely right. I'm enjoying the opportunity to fight back. We spent 2 more hours strategizing. Zanil would file preemptive declarations of mental competency, including statements from my doctors and my own sworn testimony. We'd document my business records proving decades of successful entrepreneurship. We'd gather character witnesses. And we'd prepare for Tabo's next move, which would inevitably come. He'll escalate when he realizes you're not cooperating, Zanil warned. Men like him don't surrender easily. He's invested in seeing you as weak and broken. Having that image destroyed will make him very angry. Let him be angry. That afternoon, Zanil's assistant Saifo came to photograph my workshop. He was efficient and quiet, documenting every item, every tool, every ledger book. He arranged for a professional business valuator to come the next day. Mrs. Dlamini, Saifo said when he finished, this is museum-quality work. You created all of this. 1 bar of soap at a time over 35 years. He shook his head. Your son has no idea what he's looking at. None at all. He's going to be so shocked. That evening Tabo called. I was ready. Mama, it's been 24 hours. Have you started packing? I let my voice sound shaky, uncertain. Tabo, my boy, this is all happening so fast. I'm trying to sort through things, but there's just so much. Just pack what's important. We'll handle the rest. But my photo albums and your father's things and all our memories. We'll keep what matters. Everything else goes to the estate sale. I don't know if I can do this, Tabo. His voice turned firm, almost hard. Don't make this more difficult than it needs to be, Mama. I'm coming over Friday with contractors to assess the garage and plan the renovation. Be ready. After he hung up, I smiled. He thought he'd been talking to a confused old woman scrambling to obey him. He had no idea I'd spent the day building a fortress of legal protection around myself. Comment below. What would you do if your own child betrayed you like this? And smash that like button if you think Namsa is about to destroy her son in court. Friday came. I'd spent 3 days executing my plan with military precision. My most valuable inventory, about our 12 million worth, was now in a bank vault under my business name. My workshop was documented, photographed, and professionally valued at our 28.5 million, including goodwill and established customer relationships. My medical records were updated with comprehensive cognitive assessments showing perfect mental function. Zanil had filed all the preliminary paperwork. Tabo arrived at 2 p.m. with Lorato and 2 men in construction coveralls. I watched from my kitchen window as they pulled up in 2 vehicles, Tabo's BMW and a white Bakkie with Thimkalu Construction painted on the side. I dressed carefully that morning. Navy slacks, a crisp white blouse, simple gold earrings. I wanted to look composed, not confused or disheveled. When Tabo knocked, I opened the door with a neutral expression. Mama, these are the contractors. We're going to assess the garage and discuss the renovation timeline. Actually, Tabo, we need to talk first. Just you and Lorato. Come inside. Something in my tone made him hesitate. Lorato's eyes narrowed suspiciously. They followed me into my living room where I'd set out my good tea service on the coffee table. A deliberate choice. This was my home, my territory, my domain. The contractors, Tabo started. Can wait outside, I finished. I poured tea with steady hands. I've spent this week consulting with lawyers. The temperature in the room dropped. Lorato's teacup froze halfway to her mouth. Lawyers. Tabo's voice was carefully neutral. Yes, about your plan to take my house and move me into the garage. I wanted to understand my legal position completely. Mama, I already explained this. It's for your own protection. Let me finish. I kept my voice pleasant but firm. I've learned several interesting things. First, this house isn't in my name. It's held in a living trust your father and I established 23 years ago. I'm the sole trustee. You have zero legal authority to sell it, modify it, or make any decisions about it while I'm alive and of sound mind. Tabo's face went pale. A trust. Second, I've undergone complete medical and cognitive testing this week. All results show perfect mental function. Any attempt to claim dementia would fail in court and could expose you to criminal charges of elder abuse. Elder abuse. Lorato's voice was sharp. That's insane. Tabo has done nothing but worry about you. Tabo threatened to declare me mentally incompetent and confine me to my garage while selling my home without permission. That meets the legal definition of elder abuse, I said calmly. My lawyer has documented everything. I sipped my tea. My lawyer also informed me that this house is worth nothing to you while I'm alive. Not 1 rand. Lorato sat up straight, her mask of concern cracking. You're being selfish. Think about Tabo's future. His inheritance. What he's supposed to receive when I die, I interrupted. His inheritance comes when I die, Lorato. Not before. And if this is how he treats me while I'm alive, I'm seriously reconsidering what that inheritance will look like. You can't do that, Mama. Tabo was shouting now, his face red. You can't cut me out completely. I'm your only child. After everything everything you've what? I interrupted. Plotted, planned, schemed, written false documentation about my mental state. Consulted lawyers about stealing my home. Brought contractors to discuss converting my garage into a prison cell. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Tabo? You're old. You can't manage this place properly. I was trying to help you. By stealing my house. It's not stealing if you're not capable. He stopped, realizing what he'd said. The words hung in the air, ugly and true. Lorato grabbed his arm hard. Tabo, stop talking. She has lawyers. We need to regroup. Regroup. Tabo pulled his arm away. She's my mother. This is my house. My future. It's not, I said quietly. It never was yours, and it never will be while I'm still breathing. I walked to the door and opened it. The contractors can go home. There will be no garage renovation. And you two are not welcome here until you apologize and abandon this scheme completely. Lorato was already moving toward the door, recognizing a lost battle. But Tabo stood frozen, shaking with rage. You'll regret this. When you fall down those stairs you refuse to leave. When you can't afford repairs. When you're alone and frightened and need help, don't come crying to me. I wouldn't dream of it. They left, and I watched them argue in the car for 10 minutes before driving away. Drop a like if you're proud of Nomsa for standing her ground. And subscribe because this war is far from over. But here's where the story takes its first major twist. That night, around 11 p.m., I woke to the sound of someone trying to open my back door. The door that led directly into the garage. My heart pounded as I crept out of bed and peered through my bedroom curtain. In the dim light from the street lamp, I could see a figure dressed in dark clothes moving around my garage with a flashlight. Obo. He was searching my garage, probably looking for valuables to remove before I could hide them. I watched him move boxes, open cabinets, check behind my garden tools. He spent almost 20 minutes searching before he finally gave up and left, clearly frustrated that he'd found nothing of value. I immediately called Jabu, my neighbor. Jabu, I need you to come over. And bring your phone to record video. He arrived within 5 minutes, still in his pajamas but alert. Jabu had been a police officer for 30 years. He understood urgency. I showed him the footage from the small security camera I'd installed 2 days ago on Zanil's advice. There was Tabo, clear as day, breaking into my garage at night. That's breaking and entering, Jabu said flatly. Even if he's your son. Even if he had keys before. You told him he wasn't welcome. He's trespassing. I need you to be my witness. Write down what time you saw him leave, what he was wearing, everything. Jabu nodded, making notes in the small notebook he still carried from his police days. Namsa, this man is desperate. Desperate people do dangerous things. You need better security. Immediately. The next morning I had new locks installed on every door. I also installed a proper alarm system connected directly to the security company. But more importantly, I moved another $8 million worth of inventory to a second secure location, a storage facility in Midran that required biometric access. Wednesday brought flowers. 3 dozen red roses delivered to my door with a card. Mama, can we please talk? Love, Tabo. I called the florist and had them collected. Thursday brought a different approach. Lorato arrived alone at 10 a.m. with a white bakery box from my favorite Portuguese bakery in Norwood. I watched her through my window for a full minute before deciding to let her in. Sometimes you need to see the whole performance. Mama Namsa, please. Just 5 minutes. We sat at my kitchen table. She opened the box. Custard tarts, my favorite. I need to apologize to you, Mama Namsa. Her voice was quiet, seemingly genuine. Tabo and I handled this terribly. We really were worried about you in this big house at your age, but we went about it all wrong. I said nothing. Just watched her with what Zanil called my poker face. Tabo hasn't slept in days. He's sick about this. He loves you so much, Mama Namsa. You have to believe that. Does he? Yes. Of course. You're his mother. He just wanted you safe and cared for. That's all. She reached across the table, her hand stopping just short of mine. We were so wrong to threaten court action. Wrong to push you. We can see that now. We're sorry. What exactly do you want, Lorato? Just to fix things. To go back to how we were before. Bryce on Sunday. Holidays together. Being a family. Her eyes filled with tears. Real or fake? I couldn't tell. Can we just start over? Forget all the legal paperwork and just be a family again. Forget. Kept my voice neutral. Forget that Tabo consulted lawyers about declaring me incompetent. Forget the garage plan. Forget the contractors. It sounds so terrible when you say it like that. It is terrible, Lorato. That's the point. But families forgive. Families heal. She leaned forward looking earnest. All you'd need to do is tell your lawyer to drop whatever she filed. We'll drop our papers too. Clean slate. And there it was. The real objective hidden in the emotional appeal. And the house. Yes. A flicker of something crossed her face. Calculation. Then the concerned expression returned. We can discuss that later when emotions aren't so high. Maybe you'd consider downing to a smaller place on your own timeline. We could help you find a nice townhouse in Melrose or Greenside. Something easier to manage. You'd have money left over for travel, for enjoying retirement. And Tabo could. She tried to look reluctant. Well, it would make financial sense for him to move into this house. The rates alone on this property. Lorato, I interrupted. Thank you for the tarts. But you need to leave. Mama Namsa, please just listen. No. I stood up. You're not here to apologize. You're here to manipulate me into dropping my legal protection so Tabo can proceed with his original plan. The answer is no. It will always be no. Please leave. Her face changed completely. The mask melted away, replaced by cold fury. You're making a huge mistake. Tabo is your only family. When you're alone and need help, remember this moment. I'll call someone who actually cares about me. Not someone who sees me as an obstacle to real estate. Comment below. Have you ever had to cut off toxic family? And hit like if you're standing with Namsa. After she left, I called my quilting group. Within an hour, my living room was filled with women I'd known for 20 years. Precious, Thandao, Naledi, and Gogo Sibangile, who at 81 years old had stopped tolerating nonsense decades ago. I told them everything. What a snake, Gogo Sibangile said flatly. Your own son. Trying to do this. You actually told them to get out? Thandao asked, sounding impressed. Essentially, yes. Good, Precious said firmly. Namsa, you know we're all here for you. Whatever you need. I need witnesses. People who can testify in court that I'm sharp, capable, independent. Done, Naledi said immediately. We'll document everything. Times, dates, conversations. Proof that your mind is perfect. But then Gogo Sibangile said something that changed everything. Namsa, I need to tell you something. Last month, I saw Lerato having coffee at Exclusive Books in Hyde Park. She was with a man I didn't recognize. They were very. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Affectionate. Holding hands. Kissing. The room went silent. Are you sure? Yes. I'm 81, not blind. It was definitely her. And definitely not Tabo. Another twist. Lerato was having an affair. Which meant her motivation for getting this house might be even more urgent than I'd thought. Was she planning to leave Tabo? Did she need money for a divorce settlement? That evening Jabu came over. Saw more visitors today. Everything okay? I explained about Lerato's visit. Then I told him about Gogo Sibangile's revelation. Jabu's cop instincts kicked in immediately. Namsa, think about this. If Lerato's planning to divorce Tabo, she needs assets. Big assets. AR 15 million house split in a divorce settlement would set her up nicely. So she's pushing Tabo to get the house before she files for divorce. Exactly. Which makes them both more desperate. More dangerous. He was right. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the look on Tabo's face when he'd said, "Old women have accidents all the time. They fall down stairs." Had that been a threat? A warning? Or worse, a plan? The next morning I called Zanil and told her everything. The break-in, Lerato's affair, the escalating desperation. We need to move faster, she said. I'm going to recommend you file a restraining order against both of them. And Namsa. Be very, very careful. Lock your doors. Don't let them in. Don't meet them alone. But here's the twist I didn't see coming. Saturday afternoon, I was in my garden when a car pulled up. Not Tabo's BMW. A silver Mercedes I didn't recognize. A woman got out. She was maybe 35, professionally dressed, carrying a briefcase. Mrs. Dlamini. I'm Zinal Ntuli from the Department of Social Development. I received a concerning report about your living situation. May I come in? My blood ran cold. Tabo had called social services. If your heart is racing right now, hit that like button. And subscribe because this story is about to get insane. I let her in, my mind racing. This was a new tactic. If Tabo couldn't intimidate me legally, he'd try to use social services to declare me unable to care for myself. We sat in my living room. Ms. Ntuli pulled out a form. I received a report from your son expressing concerns about your safety and well-being. He claims you're living alone in a house that's too large to maintain, that you're refusing help, and that you may be experiencing cognitive decline. Did he mention he's trying to steal my house? I asked calmly. Her pen paused. Excuse me. My son is attempting to force me to sign over my property. When I refused and hired a lawyer, he's apparently now using social services as another weapon against me. I pulled out my folder. I kept one ready now with copies of everything. Medical records, cognitive assessments, bank statements, my business registration documents, trust papers, everything. Ms. Ntuli, I am 72 years old. I am in perfect health. I run a successful business that generates over $5 million annually. I manage all my own finances, property, and affairs. My son is engaged in elder abuse, and I have lawyers handling it. This report is part of his harassment campaign. She looked through my documents carefully. Very carefully. After 15 minutes, she looked up at me. Mrs. Dlamini, these documents show clearly that you are fully competent and capable. However, I'm required to complete a home assessment since a report was filed. Of course. Please look around. She spent 30 minutes walking through my house, asking questions, checking my refrigerator full of fresh food I'd cooked, my bathroom clean with safety rails I'd installed myself years ago, my bedroom tidy, organized. She noted that I had working smoke alarms, a well-maintained garden, paid utility bills stacked neatly on my desk. Finally, she sat back down in my living room. Mrs. Dlamini, I'm going to file a report stating that you are clearly competent, living independently, and that this complaint appears to be made in bad faith. I'm also going to note that weaponizing social services in a family property dispute is a serious matter that could result in penalties for your son. Thank you. However, I should warn you, he can file again and again. Each time we're required to investigate. I understand. And each time I'll provide the same evidence. After she left, I called Zanil immediately. He's escalating faster than I expected, she said. Namsa, we need to go on the offensive. I'm going to petition the court for a protective order based on harassment and attempted exploitation of an elderly person. And I think it's time we reveal your business empire. That's going to change everything. Monday morning brought another twist. I got a call from my bank. Mrs. Dlamini, someone attempted to access your account online using your details. The attempt was blocked because they couldn't answer your security questions. Have you shared your banking information with anyone? No. Can you tell me where the attempt came from? The IP address traces to Santun and Mrs. Dlamini. They tried to initiate a large transfer, R500,000, to an account belonging to Tabo Dlamini. He wasn't just trying to take my house anymore. He was trying to steal directly from my bank account. I immediately went to the police station in Brixton and filed a report for attempted fraud. The detective, Sergeant Modis, listened carefully and took down all the details. Ma'am, this is serious. Attempted electronic fraud, especially targeting an elderly person, carries heavy penalties. We'll investigate. That night, I lay in bed thinking about how far Tabo had fallen. From my son to a criminal. From family to enemy. The grief was overwhelming, but so was my determination. Tuesday morning I got a call from Zanil. The court date is set. Next Thursday at 10 a.m. But Namsa, Tabo filed first. He's going for emergency guardianship, claiming you're in immediate danger from yourself. What? His lawyer submitted an affidavit claiming you called him confused about where you were, that you thought Mandla was still alive, that you're making irrational financial decisions. They even have a doctor's statement. From who? I haven't seen a doctor except Dr. Naidu. Someone named Dr. Bota. Ever heard of him? Never in my life. Then we have fraudulent testimony. Namsa, this is good for us. They're lying so badly they'll destroy themselves. Drop a comment. Do you think Namsa will win in court? And smash that like button if you're Team Namsa all the way. The week before the court hearing was the longest of my life. Zanil and her team prepared everything meticulously. We had my complete medical records showing perfect health, cognitive assessments with perfect scores, bank statements showing careful money management, my business records dating back 35 years, tax returns proving continuous successful business operation, contracts with retailers across 3 provinces, customer testimonials praising ND Naturals, character witness statements from Precious, Thandile, Naledi, Gogo Sibanjile and Jabu, security footage of Tabo breaking into my garage, police reports about the attempted bank fraud, documentation of the false social services report. We're not just defending you, Zanil said with a fierce smile. We're going to obliterate him. Wednesday night I barely slept. I kept thinking about tomorrow. About facing Tabo in court. About the moment when he'd learn the truth about what I'd built in that garage. Thursday morning I dressed in my best outfit. A beautiful emerald green dress Mandla had bought me for our 35th anniversary, my good shoes, subtle makeup. I wanted to look dignified, competent, strong. Zanil met me at the Johannesburg Magistrates Court with her rolling suitcase full of evidence. Ready. I've been ready since he told me to move into the garage. The courtroom was smaller than I'd imagined. Magistrate Nozifo Kumalo presided, a woman in her 60s with sharp, intelligent eyes and an aura of no-nonsense authority. Tabo sat with his lawyer, Peter van der Merwe, at one table. Lerato sat in the gallery, her face carefully neutral. Our eyes met for a moment and I saw something there. Was it guilt? Fear? Hatred? I couldn't tell. The hearing began. Peter presented Tabo's case. A concerned, devoted son, an aging mother showing clear signs of dementia and cognitive decline, living alone in dangerous circumstances, refusing help. Mr. Dlamini has carefully documented multiple instances of his mother's deteriorating mental state, Peter said, presenting papers to the magistrate. Mrs. Dlamini forgot their dinner plans 3 times last month. She leaves the stove on. She repeats the same stories in conversation. She becomes confused about time and place. She makes irrational financial decisions. All complete lies, but he said them with conviction. Then Tabo took the witness stand. His performance was Oscar-worthy, the tortured, anguished son watching his beloved mother decline. She's not the same person anymore, he said, his voice breaking. She forgets things constantly. Last month she called me at 3 a.m., completely confused about where she was. She thought my father was still alive. She asked when he was coming home from work. I felt Zanil's hand on my arm, steadying me. And when you tried to help her, she became hostile. Peter prompted. Paranoid. She accused me of trying to steal her house when all I wanted was to ensure her safety. She hired lawyers to fight against her own son's care. She makes irrational financial decisions, claims to have businesses that don't exist. He stopped, realizing he'd said too much. Claims to have businesses. Peter looked confused. This wasn't in their script. She told us she runs some kind of soap business from her garage, Tabo said dismissively. Worth millions, she says. It's clearly a delusion. The garage is just full of old junk and garden tools. Several people in the courtroom shifted. I saw the magistrate's eyebrow raise slightly. Peter quickly moved on. Mr. Dlamini, tell the court about your mother's living conditions. The house is too big for her. She can't manage the stairs. She can't maintain the property. I tried to help her transition to appropriate accommodation. The garage. Zanil interrupted, standing up. You tried to force her to live in her garage? It's a large garage. Tabo protested. We were going to convert it. So you admit you planned to move your mother into the garage of her own house while you sold that house without her permission? It wasn't, Your Honor. She's twisting my words. Magistrate Kumalo held up her hand. Mr. Dlamini, answer the question. Did you plan to have your mother live in the garage? It was going to be converted into a nice bachelor flat. In the garage. Yes or no? Yes, Your Honor. The magistrate made a note. Continue, Mr. van der Merwe. Peter introduced the medical statement from Dr. Botha, claiming I refused cognitive testing and showed signs of dementia. Then it was Zanil's turn. Your Honor, I'd like to call Mrs. Nomsa Dlamini to the stand. I walked to the witness box with steady steps. I'd been preparing for this moment for weeks. Felt strong. Clear-headed. Ready. Zanil started gently. Mrs. Dlamini, your son claims you called him at 3 a.m. confused about your husband's death. Did that happen? No, it did not. My phone records show I've made no calls to Tabo after 8:30 p.m. in the past 6 months. He claims you forgot dinner plans 3 times last month. We had no dinner plans. I keep a detailed calendar, both paper and digital, showing every appointment. There are no appointments with Tabo listed. He claims you're careless with money. I've managed all my finances independently for 8 years since Mandla died. My bank statements show consistent, responsible management. No missed payments. No overdrafts. Excellent credit score. Zanil pulled out document after document. Medical records showing perfect health. Cognitive assessments with top scores. Bank statements showing meticulous financial management. Character witness statements. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Mrs. Dlamini, your son mentioned you claim to operate a business. Can you tell the court about that? For 35 years, I've owned and operated a luxury soap and bath product company called ND Naturals. I manufacture artisanal products from my home workshop. My products sell in boutique stores from Johannesburg to Cape Town. And hotels use my soaps in their guest rooms. My current inventory and assets are valued at approximately R28.5 million. The courtroom went absolutely silent. Tabo's face turned white as chalk. Lorato's mouth fell open. R28.5 million? The magistrate asked, her interest clearly piqued. Yes, Your Honor. I've operated this business continuously for over 3 decades, managing clients nationally, handling complex custom orders, maintaining steady commercial success, all while my son apparently believed I was too mentally incompetent to manage my own affairs. Zanil presented everything like a magician revealing her grand finale. Photographs of my workshop, the beautiful products. Professional valuation reports. Testimonials from retailers. 35 years of business tax returns, all properly filed. Contracts with boutique stores and hotels. Customer databases. Financial statements showing millions in revenue. The magistrate examined everything in silence. Then she looked at Tabo with an expression that could freeze blood. Mr. Dlamini, you filed for emergency guardianship claiming your mother is financially incompetent. Yet she's been successfully running a multi-million rand business you knew nothing about. Tabo stammered. I didn't know about any business. She never told me. Why would she be required to tell you? The magistrate's voice was sharp. She's an independent adult managing her own affairs quite successfully. Peter tried to recover. Your Honor, this business could be recently fabricated to make her look competent. 35 years of tax returns are fabricated. The magistrate cut him off. Contracts dating back decades. Professional valuations from independent assessors. Zanil stood. Your Honor, I'd like to address the medical statement from Dr. Botha. Please proceed. Dr. Botha has no record of Mrs. Dlamini as a patient. I contacted his office directly. He has never evaluated her, never met her, never examined her. This statement appears to be completely fraudulent. The courtroom erupted in whispers. The magistrate's expression turned to ice. Mr. Dlamini, did you submit false testimony to this court? It wasn't. I was told she needed evaluation. Answer the question. Is this medical statement false? Tabo's composure shattered completely. I thought I needed. Your Honor, the house is going to be mine eventually anyway. I was just trying to. To what? Speed up your inheritance by having your perfectly competent mother declared incompetent using fraudulent evidence. Peter was frantically whispering to Tabo, trying to get him to stop talking. But Tabo was spiraling, his face red, his voice rising. She's being unreasonable. She's old. That house is worth our 15 million, and she's just sitting in it alone. It's a waste. I have debt, I have expenses. Mr. Dlamini, the magistrate's voice cracked like thunder. Stop talking immediately. Tabo went silent, breathing hard. Magistrate Kumalo looked at her notes. Then she looked at everyone in the courtroom. The petition for guardianship is denied. Completely. Mrs. Dlamini has demonstrated full mental capacity beyond any reasonable doubt. She's clearly more financially competent than most people half her age. She paused, letting that sink in. Furthermore, Mr. Dlamini's filing contains what appears to be fraudulent medical testimony. I am referring this matter to the National Prosecuting Authority for investigation of possible perjury, fraud, and elder abuse. Tabo's face lost all color. Elder abuse. I'm her son. Her son who tried to have her declared incompetent using lies and forged documents. Her son who, according to her testimony, threatened her and demanded she vacate her home. Her son who attempted to access her bank account without authorization. Yes, I have the police report right here. That meets every element of the legal definition of elder abuse, Mr. Dlamini. The gavel came down. This court finds in favor of Mrs. Nomsa Dlamini. Case dismissed. If you're cheering right now, hit that like button. And subscribe because we're not done yet. There are still more twists coming. The aftermath of the court case moved faster than I expected. Within 3 days, the National Prosecuting Authority opened a formal investigation into Tabo for elder abuse, attempted fraud, and perjury. Peter van der Merwe immediately distanced himself from Tabo, filing paperwork claiming Tabo had misled him and provided false information. He was trying to save his own law license. Dr. Bota turned out to be a real doctor, but one Tabo had seen for stress management, not about me at all. Tabo had forged Dr. Bota's signature on the false medical statement. That alone was a serious criminal offense. Zanil called me daily with updates. The NPA is taking this very seriously. Elder abuse and fraud against the elderly are prosecuted aggressively. And the forged medical document is clear evidence of criminal intent. What kind of sentence is he looking at? Worst case. 3 to 5 years in prison. More likely, since he has no criminal record, he'll get a suspended sentence, heavy fines and probation. But Nomsa, he'll have a permanent criminal record. This will follow him forever. I felt no joy about that. But I felt no guilt either. Tabo had chosen this path. Every step of the way he'd had opportunities to stop, to apologize, to do the right thing. He'd chosen greed and cruelty instead. Lerato filed for divorce exactly 4 days after the court hearing. According to Jabu's sources, retired cops have excellent information networks. She'd moved all her possessions out of their Santon house within 48 hours of the magistrate's ruling. She was smart enough to abandon a sinking ship. 2 weeks after the hearing, Zanil called with different news. Tabo's lawyer contacted me. He wants to settle. Settle what? Everything. The criminal charges, the civil liability, all of it. He'll sign a document admitting what he did, relinquishing any future claim to your property, and formally apologizing. In exchange, you'd agree not to sue him for damages, and you'd support a plea agreement that keeps him out of prison. I was quiet for a long moment. What do you think? Personally, I'd make him suffer as much as legally possible. But professionally, a settlement gives you closure without a lengthy criminal trial. You'd have his admission of guilt in writing. He'd be on probation for 5 years minimum. 1 violation and he goes straight to jail. I want one more thing. Tell me. He pays all my legal fees. Every single rand. Zanil actually laughed. Done. I'll add it to the agreement. But here's where the story takes another unexpected twist. The settlement meeting was scheduled for Zanil's office. Tabo arrived looking like he'd aged 15 years. His face was gray, his eyes hollow, completely defeated. Peter van der Merwe wasn't with him. He'd hired a new lawyer, a young woman named Precious Ndlovu, no relation to my friend. We all sat around Zanil's conference table. Tabo wouldn't meet my eyes. Zanil laid out the settlement terms. 1. Tabo would sign a sworn affidavit admitting to attempted exploitation of an elderly person, submitting false documents to court, and harassment. 2. He would relinquish any and all claims to my property, now and in the future. 3. He would pay our $250,000 in legal fees and costs. 4. He would accept a plea agreement, 2 years suspended sentence, 5 years probation, 500 hours community service. 5. He would have no contact with me except through lawyers. 6. He would issue a formal written apology. And if he violates probation, yes, Immediate imprisonment, Zanil said. Plus the original charges would be reinstated. Tabo's lawyer reviewed everything. My client agrees to all terms. Zanil pushed the documents across the table. Sign here, here, and here. Tabo picked up the pen with shaking hands. But before he signed, he finally looked at me. Mama. Don't, I said quietly. Don't call me that. Not anymore. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened to me. Lorato kept pushing and we had debts and I lost my mind. I lost myself. You didn't lose yourself, Tabo. You revealed yourself. This is who you are when you think you can get away with it. Please, Mama. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but you're right. You don't. He signed the documents, and I watched his hand shake with each signature. Part of me, a very small part, felt sad for him. This broken man had once been my little boy. But mostly I felt relief. It was finally over. Or so I thought. Comment below. Would you forgive your child if they did this to you? And hit like if you're still invested in this story. 3 months passed. I settled back into my quiet life. Garden, tea, quilting group, my soap business. But I also made some changes. I hired a part-time assistant, a young woman named Zanil, different Zanil, who helped me expand ND Naturals' online presence. We created a website, started selling through Takealot and other online platforms. Business boomed. I also started teaching soap-making workshops at the community center in Yeovil. Women would come, young and old, rich and poor, and I'd teach them my craft. It felt good to share what I'd learned over 35 years. Precious, Thandio, Naledi, and Gogo Sibangile became even closer friends. We'd meet for tea every week, and they'd laugh about how I'd destroyed Tabo in court. Gogo Sibangile called me Namsa the Warrior. Jabu installed even better security at my house and taught me basic self-defense. Just in case, he said. Better to be prepared. Life was good. Peaceful. I thought the drama was behind me. Then one Saturday afternoon, 6 months after the court case, a young woman came to my door. She was maybe 25, visibly pregnant, crying. Mrs. Dlamini. Mfo. I need to talk to you about Tabo. My heart sank. What now? I let her in, made her tea, waited for her to compose herself. I'm Tabo's girlfriend, she finally said. Was his girlfriend. For 2 years. The woman Gogo Sibangile had seen with Lorato hadn't been Lorato having an affair. It had been Tabo with this girl. I'm pregnant with his child, Mfo continued, her hands on her belly. Due in 2 months. When I told him he tried to force me to have an abortion. When I refused, he cut me off completely. Blocked my calls. Won't answer my messages. I have nowhere to go. My family disowned me when they found out I was pregnant and unmarried. Why are you here? Asked gently. Because I've heard about you. About what happened. About how strong you are. And I thought. She started crying again. I thought maybe you'd understand. Maybe you'd help me. I have no one else. Here was another twist I never saw coming. My son's pregnant girlfriend, abandoned and desperate, sitting in my living room asking for help. What would I do? Hit that like button if you think Namsa should help this girl. And comment. What would you do in this situation? I looked at Mfo, young, pregnant, terrified, abandoned by my son. Part of me wanted to send her away. She represented another of Tabo's betrayals. Another piece of his moral decay. She'd been sleeping with a married man after all. But another part of me saw a scared girl who'd made mistakes and was now paying for them while Tabo faced no consequences for his part in this. Tell me everything, I said. The story came out in pieces between sobs. Mfo had met Tabo at a conference 2 years ago. He'd told her he was separated from his wife, that the divorce was nearly final. She'd believed him. They'd been together for 18 months before she got pregnant. When I told him about the baby, he got so angry. Said I'd ruined everything. That Lorato was about to come into money and he couldn't lose that now. He gave me our 20,000 and told me to take care of it. When I said I wanted to keep the baby, he said I was on my own. Lorato was about to come into money. Yes. What money? I don't know. He just kept saying that if he could get through the divorce quickly, he'd get his share of something big, that we could be together after. But then the divorce happened and something went wrong, and suddenly he wouldn't talk to me at all. Understood now. Tabo had been planning to divorce Lorato after stealing my house. He'd been stringing Mfo along, thinking he'd have millions to split in the divorce, enough to set up a new life with his pregnant girlfriend. When the court case destroyed those plans, when Lorato filed for divorce first, Tabo had nothing. No house, no money, just criminal charges and a ruined reputation. So he'd abandoned Mfo too. Where are you staying now? Yes. My car. I lost my flat 2 weeks ago. I've been sleeping in my car in a parking garage in Braamfontein. I made a decision that my friends later said was either incredibly generous or completely crazy. You can stay in my guest room until the baby comes and you get back on your feet. 4. He would accept a plea agreement. 2 years suspended sentence, 5 years probation, 500 hours community service. 5. He would have no contact with me except through lawyers. 6. He would issue a formal written apology. And if he violates probation, yes, immediate imprisonment, Zanil said. Plus the original charges would be reinstated. Tabo's lawyer reviewed everything. My client agrees to all terms. Zanil pushed the documents across the table. Sign here, here, and here. Tabo picked up the pen with shaking hands. But before he signed, he finally looked at me. Mama. Don't, I said quietly. Don't call me that. Not anymore. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened to me. Lorato kept pushing and we had debts and I lost my mind. I lost myself. You didn't lose yourself, Tabo. You revealed yourself. This is who you are when you think you can get away with it. Please, Mama. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but you're right. You don't. He signed the documents, and I watched his hand shake with each signature. Part of me, a very small part, felt sad for him. This broken man had once been my little boy. But mostly I felt relief. It was finally over. Or so I thought. Comment below. Would you forgive your child if they did this to you? And hit like if you're still invested in this story. 3 months passed. I settled back into my quiet life. Garden, tea, quilting group, my soap business. But I also made some changes. I hired a part-time assistant, a young woman named Zanil, different Zanil, who helped me expand ND Naturals' online presence. We created a website, started selling through Takealot and other online platforms. Business boomed. I also started teaching soap-making workshops at the community center in Yeovil. Women would come, young and old, rich and poor, and I'd teach them my craft. It felt good to share what I'd learned over 35 years. Precious, Thandio, Naledi, and Gogo Sibangile became even closer friends. We'd meet for tea every week, and they'd laugh about how I'd destroyed Tabo in court. Gogo Sibangile called me Namsa the Warrior. Jabu installed even better security at my house and taught me basic self-defense. Just in case, he said. Better to be prepared. Life was good. Peaceful. I thought the drama was behind me. Then one Saturday afternoon, 6 months after the court case, a young woman came to my door. She was maybe 25, visibly pregnant, crying. Mrs. Dlamini. Mfo. I need to talk to you about Tabo. My heart sank. What now? I let her in, made her tea, waited for her to compose herself. I'm Tabo's girlfriend, she finally said. Was his girlfriend. For 2 years. The woman Gogo Sibangile had seen with Lorato hadn't been Lorato having an affair. It had been Tabo with this girl. I'm pregnant with his child, Mfo continued, her hands on her belly. Due in 2 months. When I told him he tried to force me to have an abortion. When I refused, he cut me off completely. Blocked my calls. Won't answer my messages. I have nowhere to go. My family disowned me when they found out I was pregnant and unmarried. Why are you here? Asked gently. Because I've heard about you. About what happened. About how strong you are. And I thought. She started crying again. I thought maybe you'd understand. Maybe you'd help me. I have no one else. Here was another twist I never saw coming. My son's pregnant girlfriend, abandoned and desperate, sitting in my living room asking for help. What would I do? Hit that like button if you think Namsa should help this girl. And comment. What would you do in this situation? I looked at Mpho, young, pregnant, terrified, abandoned by my son. Part of me wanted to send her away. She represented another of Tabo's betrayals. Another piece of his moral decay. She'd been sleeping with a married man after all. But another part of me saw a scared girl who'd made mistakes and was now paying for them while Tabo faced no consequences for his part in this. Tell me everything, I said. The story came out in pieces between sobs. Mpho had met Tabo at a conference 2 years ago. He'd told her he was separated from his wife, that the divorce was nearly final. She'd believed him. They'd been together for 18 months before she got pregnant. When I told him about the baby, he got so angry. Said I'd ruined everything. That Lerato was about to come into money and he couldn't lose that now. He gave me our 20,000 and told me to take care of it. When I said I wanted to keep the baby, he said I was on my own. Lerato was about to come into money. Yes. What money? I don't know. He just kept saying that if he could get through the divorce quickly, he'd get his share of something big, that we could be together after. But then the divorce happened and something went wrong, and suddenly he wouldn't talk to me at all. Understood now. Tabo had been planning to divorce Lerato after stealing my house. He'd been stringing Mpho along, thinking he'd have millions to split in the divorce, enough to set up a new life with his pregnant girlfriend. When the court case destroyed those plans, when Lerato filed for divorce first, Tabo had nothing. No house, no money, just criminal charges and a ruined reputation. So he'd abandoned Mpho too. Where are you staying now? Yes. My car. I lost my flat 2 weeks ago. I've been sleeping in my car in a parking garage in Braamfontein. I made a decision that my friends later said was either incredibly generous or completely crazy. You can stay in my guest room. Until the baby comes and you get back on your feet. Mrs. Dlamini, I can't. You can and you will. But on certain conditions. You'll see a doctor regularly. You'll apply for jobs. You'll save money. And you'll help around the house. Cooking, cleaning, garden work. This isn't charity. It's a temporary arrangement to help you become independent. Why would you help me? I was with your son while he was married. I'm part of the problem. You're a young woman who made mistakes but is taking responsibility for them. That's more than I can say for Tabo. And this baby, I gestured to her stomach, is innocent. That child is my grandchild, whether Tabo claims it or not. Mpho moved into my guest room that day. The quilting group was shocked when I told them. You're letting your son's side piece live with you? Precious asked, incredulous. I'm letting a pregnant girl with nowhere to go stay in my empty guest room, I corrected. There's a difference. Gogo Sibinjile just laughed. Namsa the warrior strikes again. Tabo tries to throw you in the garage so you take in his secret baby mama. I love it. The next 2 months were strange but good. Mpho was quiet, respectful, genuinely grateful. She helped me in the garden, learned to make soap, cooked dinner most nights. She had a degree in accounting but had been working in retail when she met Tabo. I helped her prepare her CV and practice for interviews. Within 3 weeks, she had a job offer at a small accounting firm in Randburg. She could start after her maternity leave. I took her to every doctor's appointment, watched her belly grow, felt the baby kick. And I realized something. This child would be my only grandchild. Tabo had destroyed our relationship, but I didn't have to let that destroy my chance to be a grandmother. When Mpho went into labor on a Tuesday morning, I drove her to Johannesburg General Hospital and stayed with her through 14 hours of labor. I held her hand when she screamed, coached her breathing. I was there when my granddaughter was born at 3:47 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Mfo named her Lindayo. It means waited for, she explained. Because I waited so long to find family. I held little Lindayo in my arms, all 3.2 kilograms of her, and fell completely in love. If this story is touching your heart, hit that like button, subscribe for more incredible true stories, and comment. Have you ever been surprised by your own capacity for forgiveness? Mfo and baby Lindayo stayed with me for 4 more months. Mfo recovered, started her new job, saved money. I took care of Lindayo while Mfo worked, and I'd never been happier. My house felt alive again with a baby's laughter. The quilting group fell in love with Lindayo too. Every Tuesday, they'd come over and pass her around like a precious doll. Even Gogo Sibanjile, who claimed she was too old for babies, would hold Lindayo for hours, singing old Zulu lullabies. Then one Saturday afternoon there was a knock at my door. Tabo stood there, looking somehow even worse than at the settlement meeting. Thinner, older, broken. Mama, Mrs. Dlamini, please. I need to talk to you. We're not supposed to have contact. I know. But I heard. I heard about Mfo and the baby. I heard they're living here with you. They were. Mfo moved into her own flat last week. A nice 2-bedroom in Melville. Is doing well. The baby is healthy and beautiful. Can I? His voice cracked. Can I see her? The baby. That's between you and Mfo. Not me. She won't answer my calls. Can you blame her? He stood there on my doorstep, this man I'd raised, this stranger who'd tried to destroy me. And I saw something in his face I hadn't seen in years. Genuine remorse. Real pain. I've lost everything, Mama. Lerato took half of what little I had. I'm living in a 1-bedroom flat in Rosettenville. Ironic, right? Near where I grew up. I lost my job, my reputation, my family. And now I've lost my daughter before I even met her. You made your choices, Tabo. I know I did. And I'll live with them forever. But Mama. His voice broke completely. I miss you. I miss my mother. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know I destroyed everything. But I'm asking anyway. Please. Can we try? I looked at him for a long moment. My son. My betrayer. My greatest disappointment. But also still the little boy I'd raised, somewhere deep underneath all the damage. No, I said finally. Not yet. Maybe not ever. You tried to steal my life, Tabo. You forged documents. You lied. You threatened me. You abandoned a pregnant girl. Those aren't mistakes. Those are character revelations. I know. But, I continued, and I saw hope flare in his eyes. If you want to be in Lindayo's life, you need to prove yourself. Not to me, Mfo. You need to pay child support. You need to show up consistently. You need to be a real father, not a deadbeat who appears when it's convenient. I will. I promise. Promises from you mean nothing anymore. Only actions count. Prove it through actions, and maybe years from now we can talk about whether there's anything left between us to salvage. He nodded, tears running down his face. Thank you, Mama. Thank you for taking care of them when I didn't. Thank you for being the person I should have been. After he left, I called Mfo and told her about the visit. It's your choice, I said. If you want him in Lindayo's life, I'll support you. If you don't, I'll support that too. I don't know, she said quietly. Part of me wants her to know her father. But part of me is terrified he'll hurt her the way he hurt everyone else. Then make him earn it. Slowly, carefully. And I'll be here the whole time to protect both of you. Comment. Do you think Tabo deserves a second chance? And hit like if you're amazed by Namsa's wisdom. Over the next year, something unexpected happened. Slowly, carefully, Tabo began to rebuild. Not his relationship with me, but his relationship with his daughter. He started with child support. Regular payments, never late. Then supervised visits at Mfo's flat, with her present. Then, eventually, short visits on his own. He'd take Lindau to the park, send photos to Mfo, bring her back on time. He got a new job, nothing fancy, working at a hardware store in Norwood. He moved to a better flat. He attended parenting classes. He went to therapy. I watched from a distance, through Mfo's updates and occasional photos. I saw him holding Lindau, saw her smile at him, saw something in his face that looked like genuine love and humility. My son tried to steal my house and lock me in my garage. Instead, I took his weapon, that very garage, and turned it into a tool of my own survival and success. He thought he was moving me into poverty. He didn't realize he was trying to exile me to my fortune. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end of this story. Please hit that like button, subscribe to this channel for more incredible true stories, and comment below telling me what you learned from Namsa's journey. Share this story with anyone who needs to hear that it's never too late to fight for yourself, no matter your age. And remember, never underestimate the power of an elderly woman who's been underestimated her whole life. Until next time, stay strong, stay smart, and never let anyone take what's rightfully yours. 3 years later. I'm 77 now. Lindau is 5 years old and starting grade our next month. She's smart, funny, kind, everything I hoped she'd be. Tabo and I have reached what I call cordial distance. He's a consistent father to Lindau, pays his child support, has rebuilt his life modestly. He still works at the hardware store, lives simply, has a girlfriend who seems kind. We exchange pleasantries at family gatherings, but we'll never be close again. That's okay. Some wounds are too deep to fully heal. ND Naturals has 15 employees now and generated our 18 million in revenue last year. Woolworths carries our signature line. We just launched in Botswana and Namibia. I'm negotiating with a buyer who wants to purchase the business for our 45 million. At 77, I'm considering retirement. Actually retiring this time, not just pretending while building an empire. My will is very specific now. The house goes to a trust that will provide for Lindau's education. The business goes to Mfo, she's earned it. Various amounts go to Precious, Thandao, Naledi, Gogo Sibanjile, who's still alive at 86 and still fierce, Jabu, Zanil Mthembu, and my young assistant Zanil. Tabo gets our 100,000. Not nothing but not everything. Enough to know I didn't entirely cut him off, but not enough to reward what he did. When people ask me about what happened, and they do because the story has become somewhat famous in Johannesburg legal circles, I tell them this. My son thought I was weak because I was old, confused because I was elderly, easy to manipulate because I was a woman of a certain generation. He was wrong on every count, and he learned a lesson he'll never forget. Never confuse kindness with weakness. Never mistake age for incapacity. And never ever underestimate a woman who spent 35 years quietly building an empire in her garage while everyone assumed she was just making soap for church bazaars. I'm sitting on my stoop right now, writing this, drinking my morning rooibos tea, watching Lindau chase butterflies in my garden. The garden Tabo tried to take from me. The house he tried to steal. The life he tried to destroy. And I'm smiling. 'Cause I won. Not just in court. Not just financially. I won by refusing to be diminished. By fighting back when it would have been easier to surrender. By building something magnificent in secret, and revealing it at exactly the right moment to devastating effect. I won by choosing grace over bitterness, taking in Mfo when I could have rejected her, allowing Tabo back into our lives on strict terms when I could have banned him forever. I won by living well, by thriving, by proving that a 72-year-old woman could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast everyone who underestimated her. So to everyone listening to this story, especially those who feel powerless, who feel dismissed, who feel like the world has decided you don't matter anymore because of your age or gender or circumstances. You have more power than you know. You're stronger than they think. You're smarter than they assume. Never forget that. And never ever let anyone lock you in a garage, literally or metaphorically, when you're sitting on an empire they can't even see. Hit like if this story moved you. Subscribe for more inspiring true stories. Comment your biggest takeaway. And share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for being here with me. Goodbye from Gogo Namsa, and remember, it's never too late to fight for yourself.